Welcome back. I'm assuming that you downloaded the personal goal generator, you had a go at it, or you thought about having a go at it. Here's the problem. If we don't do these activities, it's really hard to get the value out of the next step. So go back, have a go. And if you have, awesome. And if you haven't, make sure you get it done, right? Because we need to start with the dreams, right? We need to go from there into the next phase of the process. Now, the next phase of the process is pretty exciting. In this section, what we're going to be talking about a little bit is your 4 futures. So let's talk about what this whole idea of 4 futures is, right? So I want you to imagine we've gone through this big picture, 5-year, unlimited time, unlimited money, end of life, 5-year, 3-year, and 1 year. So we start drawing this idea of a timeline into it, okay? And we say, here we are now, and this is 12 months away. Now, for some people, 12 months is a long time. For some people, 12 months just goes fast, right? And what usually happens is it's not a straight line. We end up going in a few different directions. So I want you to draw this, right? You're going to have 4 boxes, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. And these are the 4 possible futures that you could have, okay? Now, let's have a look at each one. Down the bottom, we're going to start with worst case scenario, disaster. What's the disaster look like? Underneath that, we're going to have poor performance, okay, so poor. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move up a bit, and up here we're going to have good. And in the big one here, we're going to have ideal. Now, when you look at these 4 futures, right, from where we are right now, you can see that we can actually go to any one of these, okay? Any one of these. And the thing that I wanted to demonstrate here is that the trajectory at the start is all very similar. There's not a lot of differences here, okay? Not a lot of differences here. Now, some people are optimistic and they set ideal targets, but then what happens is reality kicks in and it drags them back. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about what are your 4 futures going to look like in terms of dollars. So dollars are very specific, and the reason we use them is they're quite measurable. So what's your revenue or what's your profitability right now? And then I want you to go over to the right-hand side and I want you to say, well, what would be good for next year? What would be a good number for you? I want you to put that number in there. Then I want you to put in a poor number, so a number that's substandard for that 12 months. What would be a poor number for you? And then we're going to go to ideal. So what would be an amazing number? What would be an awesome number for you? I want you to place that one up here. And then the last one I want you to do is what would be disaster? What would be disaster? Now, for some people, it'd be 0. Okay, you can't see that because my head's in the way, but you get what I'm talking about. For some people, it'll be 0. For other people, it'll be negative, okay, disaster. So it depends how you work. It depends how you go. If you put all your money on black and red comes up, it's going to be 0. So once we've got these numbers in here, so I'll give you some examples. You know, we might be sitting on, say, 100K net after all expenses. And we know that a good year next year would be 110, okay? A poor year would be somewhere around 80, and a disaster would be anything that's like 50 or below. Okay, an amazing year we would like to double, so we would go to 200K. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is get you to picture in your mind what the different stages will be for the 4 futures. Right now, what I'd like you to think about is which is the most likely trajectory that's going to happen over the next 12 months if you don't change anything. Right? If you just keep going the way you're going, what's going to happen? Now, I'm just guessing because everyone's going to be different, but for most people, it's going to be something like this. You know, we're optimistic. We think things are going to go good, but if I don't change anything, I'm going to get some level of organic growth. Usually, if you're doing a budget with an accountant, it's going to be around 10%. Okay? So what we want to do is we want to start thinking about, well, what would have to happen if I set this one as a non-negotiable? What would have to happen if I said, you know what? I am going here, because the difference is very small at the start here, so the difference is tiny, and it grows as we go, and as we go, and as we go. Now, small hinges swing big doors. So what I want you to think about is what's the most likely path that you're going to get without the help, and what's the most likely path that you're going to get within our program, right? Because if we can make this line here, and I'm going to call this the golden line, if we can make this one work for you, then you're going to see some spectacular results. And what I'd like to do is make sure that we don't put any blockages in the way of you getting there. What I mean by that is we're going to get to you to make sure that you engage. You talk with our coaches, that you make sure that you enter the portal, you make sure that you show up to the events so that you're getting that prod and that push along so that you don't settle for mediocre anymore, right? What we want to do is we want to set this golden line so that we're going to aim for the best result possible, right? The ideal scenario. And even if we miss it by a bit, we know that we gave it a good hard trot. So this is what we call the 4 futures. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to plot this out right now. And if you'd like to, I'd like you to email this back to your client success manager or coach, right? So they have an idea of what your perspective is going to look like. And this is summarizing everything that we've done in the personal goal generator into a single visual graphic so we can understand what we're going to be doing. So get to work on putting your 4 futures together. Put the numbers in there so we understand what it is that ideal looks like, what good looks like, what poor looks like, and what disaster looks like in your world. Whether it's revenue, whether it's income, whether it's profit, you decide. And then we can use this as part of building this momentum towards your success.